Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to Agencies Talk. This is Digital Marketer's weekly talk show where we sit down with industry experts and agency professionals. Today's guest is Mickey Anderson. Affectionately known as the marketing closer, she isn't just a marketing expert. She's your ally in achieving unparalleled success. With over a decade of driving high-impact campaigns and conversation optimization, Mickey embodies the passion, dedication, and strategic insight needed to transform your business. Today, we'll be focusing on the topic of 90-day campaigns, your revenue goldmine. As a reminder, if you're able to, please turn on your cameras so we can see your smiling faces. As always, have fun and engage in the chat. And if you have any questions, please put those in the Q&A tool down at the bottom here in Zoom so we can get those answered for you guys. Today, we're also joined by another friend of ours, Etan, who will be our guest host for today's Agencies Talk. This is his second time hosting with us, so we're so excited to have you back, Etan. Without further ado, please take it away.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. And Mickey, man, I'm so excited to be here with you today. Really, I just a little before we jump in, so I became a digital marketer certified partner just about, I think, a couple of years ago. And part of what made me want to be so involved and to answer posts and something that I've never done with any community was because of a few people in that community. And Mickey Anderson is on top of that list. With all the value she was giving us, just made me want to do the same and be a part of the community in a bigger way. Jumping on, we have these calls that we do, affectionately called the marketing closer. She gave me a proposal template that got me my biggest client yet. So not only do I know she's great, I think we all do. So Mickey, with that being said, hey, how's it going? Good to see you.
In a long time no see. You're making me blush here. Oh, it's so good to be here. I'm pumped. I get to be on the other end of the interview with you. It was such a pleasure having you on my podcast, and now getting to sit in the reverse role is just a blast. I'm so pumped. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be so much fun, and I just can't wait to hear more. So we're going to be talking about your famous 90-day campaigns. I would love to hear, what are we talking about?
Yeah, so for those of you who are in the digital marketer world, you understand that we typically work in these 90-day sprints, right? We set big 3-year targets or maybe annual plans or goals for your marketing, but we execute in these quarterly sprints, our 90-day campaigns, as we call them. And most of the time what ends up happening is we pick kind of one thing and we kind of get it done, but we don't give it enough time to actually see results from it. And then we end up in the next quarter with a new thing. So a lot of us end up in either shiny object syndrome or with a lot of half-built bridges. And so the goal of 90-day campaigns is to really, from start to finish, check something fully off the list and have enough time to see results from it in your marketing. And so the way we do that is with the stages of customer awareness. So a lot of you might already have access to the incredible digital marketer tool called the Content Funnel Map, which is my personal favorite piece of digital marketer wisdom. And it outlines how you can leverage your content to work customers through those stages of customer awareness, from unaware, they don't know they have a problem, they don't know you exist, all the way to being raving fans who are buying and referring. And so we create a 90-day plan for your marketing to work people through all of those stages. And then we rinse and repeat every 90 days. So anyone who didn't quite make it is taken care of into the next quarter. And we just continue that flywheel every quarter, moving clients further and further through and bringing new clients in.
That's brilliant. And just the use case of literally what everyone, I think, it sounds so simple, like taking people from step to step, but it's really not. Like, no one really focuses on that step by step. I think sometimes I've seen people all the time, I need to take them through 12 steps. How it's going to take 5 years. How do I, what do I do? And it's not like working through a campaign like yours. It's just a quarterly flow.
That's it. We try and simplify it as much as possible. And one of the things we've learned too along the way is we as marketers, we have what's called the curse of knowledge. I think Donald Miller coined this term. But it's we assume that everyone needs to know everything we know in order to sell it and make it work. But that is so not the case. And so the more you can simplify it for the client, we can still know all the things and use all the frameworks and tools, but they don't need to know that. And so we don't even tell them about the 6 stages of customer awareness or any of those pieces. We make it simple. We got top, middle, and bottom of funnel, and we're going to use our own framework to bring people through the entire funnel, and we rinse and repeat that every 90 days. Now that's an easy plan to stop.
I I love that you're so many times I deal with this as well. It's like, oh, you go through the steps, and I walk them through the steps, and it's like you lose them at some point, and just makes so much more sense to just say, okay, top, bottom funnel, here you go. We get them from not knowing you to buying.
That's it. And if they don't buy within the 90 days, we try again, and then again and again. That's it.
That seems like such a natural just way of doing marketing. Like that's how it should be done, right? It's that kind of building that relationship, moving them through. Whoever's not ready yet, they still have the opportunities to keep going, versus what I see a lot out there right now, which is send something out and they disappear. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, and you don't really follow up or realize that they're not in the right stage.
Yeah. And the thing that I like about it too is that it's kind of like omni-channel. It really doesn't matter if you're doing it with ads or if you're doing it with website content or if you're doing it with email. It works for everything. It's just a kind of a big framework that you can use, and then you can execute it in a whole bunch of different ways based on your business, your channels, your audience.
Makes complete sense. I mean, that's so cool. What do you, I mean, so the half-built bridges that you're talking about, like, I think, obviously, I don't know any business owner who does not feel that when it's said. It's like you start something, you jump on the shiny thing, you don't get through it, it kills you. And I know that this might be a challenge that a lot of other agency owners are dealing with. How do you, within that, because you give them the scope, but do they stick to the plan with you, or how do you, what do you do to make sure that they don't start to jump around once they're with you?
So, and one thing that I'm really proud of that I do really well is I set boundaries and expectations really well with clients. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of agencies and individuals, I mean, I was a consultant for a long time, so that became the key to my success. And with clients, they know the deal. They're committing to a plan for 90 days. And we typically call it a test on the first round. And if we don't give it the full 90 days, we fail. We haven't actually given it the chance to get the data and the information we need in order to proceed. And the thing that we do is we frame it like no one single campaign is going to change your business. It's going to rapidly expand you and double your growth and whatever. There's no hack. Typically, you'll start to see results by the third or fourth campaign. And so you have to commit to long term. You have to be willing to execute consistently before you're going to see that massive change. And you've got a good client when they're like, yeah, that makes sense. The first time I try anything, it typically doesn't work. So that is a really, really helpful tool.
That is that is so crucial. I mean, so many, I think YouTube and the marketing gurus have ruined a lot of what, of the proper channels that typically go, and like, well, if you want to make a video, so all these people have these major ambitions for business, but they want it to happen tomorrow because someone on YouTube said that if you do an ad on TikTok, you'll be a millionaire tomorrow. But building campaigns and learning and optimizing and testing, it's like that's, I think, part of the power too. You bring, the frameworks that you just, you have a framework to work within. That's super cool.
No, totally.
What do you, so you keep them on track with your scope, right? And I think that's one lesson I think most of us can probably work on a bit, or at least I know I can. I'm not going to speak for you guys, but hope on that boundaries. And, it's so fun sometimes. I can solve that. Yeah, I could do that. And suddenly you're not doing the thing that you're meant to do. And people get like, oh, wait, what happens to that thing? So I think it's so important, and you're such a master at that, of having that. This is what you're gonna get, and this is what you want, and this is what you need. Like, don't worry about it. So I love that. So you work through all the different channels in particular, or email?
Personally, no. So that's something we learned that the hard way. So it's really important we know to define what we do and who we work with and the channels we master. But sometimes the old scope seat, oh, but I'll just add that channel, or this client needs it, so I'll do it. That happens, and it can ruin you. And for us in particular, like, I've done that too many times, and it never works out well. And so we don't work on every channel, and we don't do everything. I don't build websites, right? But I do have a group of referral partners or agency partners that we work with who will tackle the things that we don't do. And those relationships have been pivotal. It's allowed us to stay in our lane and master our work. while also getting the client what they most need. And it's not about us taking everything. It's about the client getting the best possible results, and for us staying in our zone of genius.
I want to be you when I grow up, Mickey. That's let me ask you this, because this is a key part that I see a lot of people ask about all the time, is that what should I take on? How do I pass it on to make sure that I'm still the key player? And if I'm not the key player, how do I position it? Is it part of my package, or do I just overall just say, hey, no, actually, I'm going to come in and be your quarterback, and I'll bring in the players that we need? Or how do you go about that?
Well, I think it's because a lot of fractional CMOs, for example, they want to be the direct vendor. They want to be in control of everything. And like, we don't play that role. I'm not a fractional CMO. I'm not coming in to work in your business. We provide strategic support from what we do on the outside. But I'm not going to manage all of your vendors. It's too much work. It's too much product management for us. And so we allow, and I mean, we choose our partners very carefully for the reasons of they're great communicators, they're great project managers, they keep us in the loop, we communicate openly and honestly, they're great with the clients, and they get good results. And because we have the right partners, we've been able to just say, like, you know what, this is the person. They're going to do their thing. We're going to let them lead, and we're going to do our stuff really, really well. And that's allowed everyone to just be their best.
Gotcha. So you build the plan, and you do within that plan what you do, and you say, but we're going to need these pieces. Do you have this in your team, or do I need to bring someone in for it?
You got it.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So and it's not at all ever like, oh, but wait a minute. So now I need to bring you in, and they bring all these other people in, but on your sides, it's just, if you like, you want to succeed, or, what are we doing?
That's it. And usually, like, we review every quarter what happened well and well, what didn't go well, what are we going to learn moving forward. And if there's a piece missing, if there's an issue that's come up, or something that's an opportunity the client really wants to tackle, like, we're just, again, it's those boundaries and expectations. Like, okay, that's fantastic. We know you want to allocate budget to that. We know you want to focus on that, and that's great. We have the perfect person who we think would be able to fill that for you. They're going to be able to be a key player on your team. Do you want an intro? Boom. Keep it simple.
That's so great. And so it sounds so simple. It is simple.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is exactly. I mean, and this is something maybe you've talked to people on your podcast, I'm sure. But just that aspect of maybe feeling like you should know it all and should take care of it all as a marketing person, when in reality it's perfectly fine and it works to just say, no, this is what I do. And I can refer you to more people who can do more stuff. But for the campaign purposes, this is what we're going to need. And this is what I can do, but this is what you need.
Yeah. It's tricky. I mean, a lot of us want to be everything, right? We want to be that person who creates the transformation for the business or the brand or whatever. But I think more than anything, like, a little bit of humble goes a long way. I know that I am not the person who's going to fix your TikTok account, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to build you the website. I'm not going to do the redevelopment of your site. Like, those are not things that we do, nor do I care to do. And I think owning the stuff that I'm not good at has allowed me to really own the stuff that I am good at even more.
So important. And it takes, I'm still figuring that, years in, there's still that moment of, okay, this is the part that really brings the most joy and also brings the most results. So just do that. It's okay. Like, it's not like I'm spreading thin and not doing it. It's just not a good option.
Yeah, I got some really good advice. So I had a guest on my podcast. Her name was Lindy Nowak, and she was creative director at like Bon Appetit magazine. And she worked for L'Oreal as creative director. She was fantastic career.
Cool,
and she ended up going into agency life after, and she built a website development company for small businesses. And she gave me some of the best wise words I've ever had. And it was like, anytime you're drawn to do more, add more, put it on a piece of paper and leave it there and walk away. And you'll come back to it every quarter and look at it and review it. But do not just casually add things to your packages or your services because it's a good idea at the time. Give yourself the time and space to really look at that and decide, is it a core pivotal piece that is going to be an essential thing we do? Or is that something that can either wait or be outsourced? And productizing your service. I know Ryan Stewart does a great job of explaining this, how important it is to productize your service so that it is rinse and repeat. And you can actually measure success and quantify and optimize and create real change is super important. That's something that we really, really take to heart.
I mean, I can't, waiting a quarter, I can't even like, I have the patience to wait 3 days. The discipline that it takes, that's incredible. Like to be able to put something and be like, I'll look at it at the end of the quarter. And I know that so many of the businesses we work with as agencies, consultants, fractional CMOs, they definitely, it's every time it's like, oh, new. And it's at least, and I would love to hear what you think about it, but it seems like it's exactly that. Like they haven't done their simple path that produces and just did that enough times to actually become the success they want to do.
That's it. I think every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And if you don't have any room for no's right now, then you don't have room for more yeses. And so that's something that I tell my clients, even if they're like, oh, we want to do this or that or the other thing, we think this is an opportunity. I say, okay, when we say yes to this, it likely means we're going to have to say no to something else. What are you willing to say no to in this moment? And let's talk through it. And that usually resolves the conversation pretty quickly. Sometimes it is good. It's timing. It's like, okay, that's great. Let's finish this bridge and then we can start building that one. But sometimes it's just, let's put that on the paper and leave it.
Do you think I'm just curious what you think about this, because so many people, and you've interviewed so many people and you're a part of the world of the, hustle less, profit more is the name of your podcast. And the idea of, do you think people do that because they're just afraid, or, it's that they need that, they're still in that survival mode and they're just doing it, or they're generally just, just that disorganized and don't really know the path forward, or is it a mix? But I feel like I've done it from survival place sometimes, like, oh, I just got to do it to make money, Yeah.
I think, for the longest time, we have prioritized and focused so much on productivity and busy, right? Like if you're not busy, you're lazy is usually the way that it looks, right? And so we prioritize busy over everything. And busy doesn't necessarily mean profitable. Busy doesn't necessarily mean good. And if I've learned anything over the course of the podcast, like less can be more. If you can choose to focus and really hone in on it, you're going to get better results than being mediocre at a bunch of different things. So I think some of it comes from the fact that we're just trained to be busy and to prioritize like getting stuff done as opposed to choosing the right things and doing those. I think the other side of it is we see the highlight reels of all of these incredible people online all day long. And so we're comparing ourselves to an absolutely unrealistic standard all the time. And so we get, at least I know for sure, like I feel a lack of confidence. I feel like I'm not doing enough. I'm not living up to what other people are doing. And that's a really toxic place to make decisions from and to be busy in.
Yeah, I unfortunately feel that one. Right, but I think a lot of us do. I mean, do you think is there a secret so far you've discovered to help people get out of that? Or is it really just snap out of it, just stop? Or is there like is there a thing,
It's definitely a practice. I think we all want the magic pill or the hack or the trick that's going to do it, but it is a practice and you have to practice it every day. You're not going to get it the first time. Like I was a competitive swimmer. I'm B1 in the US. And if I've learned anything, like you don't get good in one practice or one race even. You get good after 10 years of practicing and then racing. And I think life is like that. If you want to master something, whether it's choosing the right thing, prioritizing, making the most of your time, being the most profitable, it's a practice that you have to come to humbly every single day and put in the work. It doesn't necessarily mean hustle, sacrificing your well-being for it, but it does mean making it a priority and coming to it every single day.
I am writing that down. But in regard to the 9-day campaign element, because I am really curious more about the overall, like, what is the flow, can you kind of go through with someone to take them from that, from that step A to where they're trying to get to?
Yeah, so we keep it simple, stupid is kind of our our
Good.
methodology. So
Yeah.
for all new clients, like there's always a period of discovery that we go through. We have to understand where they are today and then what tomorrow should look like. And our job is to build the bridge. And I think a lot of us as marketers focus so much on educating the client on how we're going to get them there instead of just doing the work and letting the results speak for themselves. And that's what we do. So we typically don't educate the clients too much. We determine where they are, see where they want to go, and then we show them the results as we take them there. So for us, most of it comes down to content marketing. It's our campaigns. And so we do social media, email, website content, and then on top of that, we'll do ads. And we structure it really simply, and it's very much so like the content funnel map. So the content is laid out in that sequence from unaware content, top of funnel. What do we need to do at the beginning of this campaign to tease, to get people's attention, to get them onto our email list, to be able to build those conversations, to retarget. The middle funnel, okay, how are we solving the problem? How are we positioning ourselves? How are we showing our uniqueness, our USP? How are we comparing ourselves to others on the market, right? Why should they choose us? What other options are they? And how do we make the choice as easy as possible for them? And then we've got bottom funnel. Typically for our clients, there's some sort of a promotion, a bonus, a period where we are spending at least 8 days, usually between 8 to 14 days, selling on all channels. And that's the part that most people either do too much or they don't do it all. They're like, I'm going to stay in top and middle of a funnel and I'm only going to sell on a call. We miss out on offer awareness. People don't understand what you actually sell, what the cost is, and they can't make a decision. And so we always try and outwardly sell for that 8 to 10 days. It takes repetition and it takes time. And if people don't go through that funnel, we romance them. We give them our mission. We build the relationship. We show them we're not just about the sale. We want to get the transformation. And then we start again. And we do the same thing the next quarter. And by the third time we run through that, typically our businesses see like at least a 50 to 75% revenue increase by the third campaign.
That's incredible. So you get demand to the, you build the content based off the different fun, that tool that we get in the certified partner program. And you utilize that to just say people through the steps. Here we go. You promote the content. I mean, is it just organic for what they have, kind of boosting, or how are you getting that overall? Getting people to that content. And then I imagine, like you kind of said, you bring them into that relationship and that email, and then you do your magic in there to get them to the close.
You got it. So we prioritize evergreen content. So we want to make sure that on your website, you have at least 1 to 2 pieces of content for each of those stages, period. Because regardless, you're going to get people who show up who are completely unaware, but they happen to stumble upon your website. We want to be prepared for those people. And so we are setting up a foundation on your site because we want own channels. When we're talking about the tactical, right? So if we're looking at building awareness, we're going to do Facebook ads. We're going to do search and display ads. We're going to put out some incredible short form video on your Instagram. We're going to put out some pretty bold statements on LinkedIn that capture attention. And we're going to have a great opt-in, right? We need to be able to solve a problem. We need to be able to give someone a win and to develop trust and set ourselves apart. So that's that first stage done in a bunch of different channels. So our clients, we will do strategic boosting. We will do paid ads. We'll do all that stuff. Middle is mostly email. To be honest, we do website content middle. We do some on social media, but for the most part, we're focusing on really setting ourselves apart on email. It's the place where it's the easiest to execute for the most part. And if you do it consistently, man, does it drive revenue. And then bottom of funnel promotions are on social and on email, and we'll position stuff on the website as well.
That is so brilliant. And so the way it should look like. I mean, it's that building that pipeline for them and then continuing to fuel it. You build that engine, which is so, some businesses have figured this out well. Like people who are really good at real estate, they need to talk to people, build, nurture, get those referrals, get the thing. It's like the very simple, that's all they have to do. Any other business, for some reason, doesn't realize that that pipeline that you can do. And it's incredible, just the way you do it. I mean, I absolutely love that. That's so cool.
We make it easy. So I think that's one of the tricks is we do less talking and more doing. Like we execute fully, we tackle it, we send it, we publish the promotions, we're doing it all. And that I think makes a big difference. If you're consulting, which I've done this whole process just as a consultant without actually including and helping them choose vendors and do all those pieces. But when you control the GSD, the get stuff done factor, when you're the one
Yeah.
actually making sure it happens, that will amplify your success because you know you're going to get it done. It's going to be consistent. It's execution where everyone falls off. You can have the greatest strategy in the world, but most of the businesses just don't follow through. And so that's why we full service, we just do it because there's no point. You're just not going to be able to do it.
That is incredible. Really, I mean, incredible. I mean, that's a lot. I know I fall to that sin often. The strategy, you get this beautiful, like, well thought. This might change the world. You should. Here you go. And then it never quite happens, or there's elements in it that aren't in your control, and you're just kind of, well, that was a fun exercise. But you taking full control of your 90-day campaign, I think, is so powerful to just get the job done and not like you're saying, you don't need to educate them, give them just enough what they need, tell them what you're going to do, and then do it.
That's it. We get budget approval. We've done our due diligence of making sure we've nailed your voice. We know your offers. We know your audience. For the most part, it's just like thumbs up, thumbs down. Cool.
It's so much simpler than I would imagine. I've just been in those shoes so many times of walking him through the bridge and the emotions before it and the after, and building in all the different steps. And in reality, they just want the result, is why they're getting you on board, and you provide that. So that's the productization he did there is just really cool. So,
well, and one of the other things too that we learned the hard way, I will say, is selling the full 90-day campaign isn't necessarily for everyone. We typically focus on one service, and then once we get the client for the one service, we build in the rest. We get them results and show them one piece, and then say, oh, by the way, we can tackle this, and the other thing for this price. You ready? Let's go. Right? You like this result? Awesome. And so that usually starts at either website content or social media or email. And we'll pick one, and then we just increase customer lifetime value by adding on those services every campaign.
So you're basically not only, you said the first stage, the first win, and you add on, okay, well, hey, we can make it even better. And these are probably, if I know you, it's like, here's the percentages. You'll probably see this go up if we add this and all of that jazz, building in one after the other. So so it sounds like you're productized to a incredible degree. I mean, I know a lot of people probably listening or that will listen. What do you think's the best? What are some ways to go about productizing your offer so you can go ahead and have your thing that you do and know how to do well, and just have it, to that T?
Yeah, I learned this from both my dad. So my dad is a master. He was the CEO of a manufacturing organization, global manufacturing, large business. And I learned most of the wise business from him. And he has this saying of like, if you can't say it in 10 words or less, it's probably too complicated. And so that for me has one of the tried and true things that we look at. Is it complicated to explain? That it's probably too much. But one of the things I learned from Lindy Nowak actually on my podcast was anytime you tackle a task in a project, time it. Nothing gets untimed because every minute adds up. And every client.
Can you say that one more time? That one piece. Can you say that?
Every time you tackle a task for any client project, time it. The contractor must time how long it takes them, even if you're paying by project, it doesn't matter. Time it. And then as you look at time spent in a project, it becomes blatantly obvious where the time sucks are and what's actually making you money. And that's something, again, I learned from my dad. It's like, what actually makes you money? Do more of that and less of everything else. And most businesses can't answer that question. Where do you make your money? Most of them know where their revenue comes from here and there, but they don't know what actually is the most profitable part of their business. And that, if you can uncover that, it's the key to scaling.
And the reason I says this, so often you hear things, right? And so, okay, yeah, make sure you know how long it takes you, but it's not like not living by it is the result that leads you into not being able to productize or understand how long it takes you to figure stuff out. And so by basically extracting the stuff that are eating up your time and aren't producing for you, you based your product around, here's the things that I do well in the best time. These are the most profitable activities wrapped into one bundle. Is that?
You got it. And then we countered that, or we challenged that with, okay, of these things, what gets the clients the most results? What are the non-negotiables that are going to drive revenue for our clients, not just ourselves? And then can we even shrink that list down even further?
So the process is, for everyone, who want to try and productize better, is first check your time, what's eating up your time, right? Is that what, if you had to tell them, hey, this is what you do, A, B, C, this is a good starting point. What do you think that, because I see that question all the time in different groups and different things, and everyone's kind of stuck on that first step for so long. And I think it might be one of the biggest reasons why agencies or consultancies or whatever don't scale or don't have that opportunity, and they're even in that stressful point. And that's why I thought it's so important, because you do it so well. What would you say is like these are the, do this, A, B, C?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're an agency owner or consultant or whatever, fractional CMO, and at the end of a week you went, where did the week go? Or you've ever said the saying, I don't have enough time, this is for you. This is your red flag, your trigger. You need to do this. And so as you go through your day, time track. And it sucked. Terrible. I hated doing it. It was like an exercise of vulnerability and failure. Like it was terrible. I hated it. But then once I did it for myself throughout my day, and we looked at our client projects, what's ongoing, who's doing what tasks, and we use a simple project management tool. You can do this in ClickUp, you can do this in Asana, Notion, whatever you use, Basecamp. But for every task on there, you're time tracking how long that task actually took. Every single, and then over the course, let's look at, okay, how much time was spent on each? How much did we make? What does this really look like in execution? And as you compare and contrast over time, you learn the hard lessons of, oh, that's taking way longer than it should, and it's not making us any money. Out it goes.
I think many business owners, for some reason, could be wrong. So if you are one of these who are great at this, don't come after me. But time perception seems to be something that we're not very good at. It's like, this will take an hour. It's like 3 days later, right? It's it should take a moment. And from CEOs I work with too, it's kind of like this loop of, you don't really know how long it's gonna take. And it's I've been trying this thing. Have you heard of the whole like focus blocks thing?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And I've been trying it out for a bit, and it's been really cool. But I've done, every time I say what I'm going to be done with one block takes 3 to 4 blocks. Yeah. That was the initial, like, oh, okay, interesting, right? It's like these realizations that you start to have about yourself and about time. And then if that's you, then your team. And if you think it takes you an hour and it takes you 3 to 4 hours, and you expect your team to do something in 20 minutes, where is that connection? Really powerful exercise, I think.
Yeah, I think like looking at the time estimate. So after looking at our project out, we always have time estimates for tasks as well. And so being able to compare, okay, how much time we thought this was going to take, and then how much it actually took. And then over time to collecting this data, like, okay, most campaigns take, this task normally takes half an hour. But for some reason, this one took an hour and a half. What happened here, and how do we make sure this doesn't happen again? So it's also a quality control exercise internally. But yeah, I'm the type of person, and I don't know if you've read the books by Dan Sullivan. There's one called 10x is better than 2x. Highly recommend.
10x better than 2x.
10x is better than 2x. And it's all about the idea of like doubling is actually infinitely harder than going for a 10x goal. Right? Because here you're competing against everyone. But if you jump 10x, you're competing against no one. And so how do you set your sights so high? And then from there, the thing is, most of us think we have to keep 80% of what we're doing and only 20% needs to change in order to get to that goal. When in truth, 80% of what you're doing needs to change and only 20% stays the same. And that's something I think that most agency owners, and in my experience, business owners in general, struggle with, is they want to keep the same, and only change a little bit, when in reality, in order to get to where you want to be, you need to completely change and only keep a minor little bit the same. And that's a hard reality. But if you can grasp that and identify, okay, what do I got to focus on? It makes everything a lot easier.
It's one of those hard truths that is just the truth, though. You just gotta. I remember working with different companies, and it's so amazing. The obvious answer is always the one you don't want to do, and it's I think
Oh, testing.
Am I back?
Oh, there you
I think
are. You're back.
got a little, not sure what went down there. Hopefully I wasn't frozen on a too much of a awkward face, but anyhow, I'm back. But what I was just aiming towards is that, the companies working with, people never want to do the thing that's the only thing they really should do. And just make that call. And it sounds exactly what you're saying is like, look, it's the truth though. You just got to do it. Productize, know your time.
That's it.
Change
it's the simple
what you do.
stuff. Yeah, it's the simple stuff that nobody likes to do because it's not sexy and it's not like the, fancy gurus don't, it's not a miracle morning. It's like, do what you say you're going to do and do it consistently. So it's, it's boring and sad, but it's the stuff that makes the most. One of the questions I like to ask myself too in this situation when I'm trying to figure out what I need to focus on. And I found this was one of the best questions I've ever been asked. And it's, my goal or whatever it is, to say it's, I want to double revenue. So doubling revenue is impossible unless, and then list out those things. And just that framing of it's impossible unless,
love that,
completely challenges what you would normally put on the list of to-dos. And I think it helps you really focus on, okay, well, I want to double revenue and I haven't been able to make it happen now. This is the thing I need to focus on.
No, that is so great. I'm going to do an exercise. I have like 3 pages of notes here already. But it's always so great. You have so much wisdom to share with everyone. I think a question I'd like to know though, because you are, obviously producing so much content all the time. that's your bread and butter, as it would appear. So do you have any cool kind of finds that would make the process easier for us all to kind of produce content at a higher scale?
Yeah. So we love AI. I know Digital Marketer loves AI too, but there are some things that you can do just at the outset of any project that make your life so much easier. So some of the key things that we preach about as marketers are like, have your avatars, know your avatars, right? Know who your ideal client is, know everything about them. But oftentimes we make them and then we never look at them. They sit in a folder and we don't look at them. And so that is a core component of our process. Have your brand guidelines, your brand voice, your key USP, your mission, what problems you have that all on a document. Just do it. your brand voice guidelines. Nobody does it, but it is so helpful. And it makes outsourcing, if you do need to create content at scale, if you do need to get outsourcing partners or contractors or team members to do it for you, set them up for success. So that's pivotal. And then what we do is a campaign brief. So before we start any quarter, we do the hard work of sitting down and writing out what's this all about? What's the point? What are our objectives? What KPIs are we measuring? What needs to be created here, right? Like what digital assets need to be created? What channels are we using? Who's in control of what? And what are the timelines? And if you do the work of doing that, oh my goodness, does it rally the team? Everyone has one source of truth to come to. Everyone understands the whole point and what's moving and all the parts and who's responsible for what. And then at the end of the 90 days, you do an analysis. Okay, we look at the brief and what we said we were going to do. And then we sit down and look at what actually happened and where it got us. And it's really simple. Those were our objectives. Did we meet them? Done or not done? Okay. These are the things we said we were going to do, done or not done. And then it's just a question of, okay, why? What happened here and how do we make sure it doesn't happen again? And it's so simple. And most people do it one time. And then they stop.
What comes to mind with you and this stuff is just genuine, like marketing business partnership, right? Like, here's what I said I'm going to do. Did we do it? No. Here's why. Here's, we'll go in next. Yes. Great. How did it do? And it sounds so simple. And yet I think there's all these other reasons where people are like, well, let's maybe meet or postpone that meeting or do the thing or send a report. And it's not from any malice thing. I think it's just a you know what your deliverables are so well that you have the confidence to come to that meeting. And not only does it do better results for the client, it's just a genuine and better relationship.
That's it. And I think like our clients know through this process that we're open and honest. We're going to tell you the hard things, like that simple. We're going to tell you if you did your side or we did our side. And we keep it simple. We don't build complicated dashboards or scorecards or anything like that. Like it's a done or not done. That's
Right.
it. Thumbs up, thumbs down. And that simplicity really helps everyone stay on the same page. So whether you're talking to the CEO or the marketing manager or a copywriter, everybody understands what's happening. And that consistently shows people that like I am actually committed to growing your business. I'm transparent. I'm not going to sell you a bunch of fluff and you're not going to know what you got. Like for us, every client knows exactly what they're getting and when. And that just clears up 99% of the issues.
Incredible. And just done, not done, period. No explanation. No, it's done or done. Well, let's analyze
That's
why,
it.
but that is
That's it. What do we learn? How are we going to fix it?
Key. Just so key. Just genuine. That's what it sounds like. It's like genuine, just real business partnership. I'm working with you. This is what I have. Did we do it? Did we not do it? Period. There's no messing around and all of that. And it's so, it's oddly refreshing, and it's sad to say, I guess, right? Because there's so far in between these middle grounds, these figuring out. But the reality is, it's either done or it's not. There's nothing to. Did you deliver?
That's it. We take a lot of inspiration from sport. I mean, I was an athlete, and here in Canada, hockey's our sport, right? That's what we do. I was just at a game last night, and the analogy we like to use is you'll see a lot of teams who have lots of fancy moves, and they do the extra spins, and they've got that core player who just looks fantastic, but they can't score goals, right? It's the fanciness is what loses them the game ultimately, because they weren't focused on the most important thing, just score the goal. And so for us, we are goal scorers. We're not fancy. We don't make things look ridiculous. We don't build dashboards. It's did the puck go into the net or did it not? And then how do we make it go in next time?
Just fundamentals and focus and execution. And did it. I mean, it's so I love how, it's funny. I've said this a few times already, but it's that it sounds so simple, and yet we overcomplicate these things to degrees that really shouldn't be, right? In marketing, you do X to get clients. If you don't do X, you're probably not going to get clients. If you do it really well, they'll get a lot of clients. If you do it not so well,
that's it. I mean, most of the time we know how many calls it takes to close a deal for our client, right? Like these are numbers that most of us know. All right, so my goal is to get that many calls. Did I get that many calls or did I not? What did I do? What am I going to do to get those calls? Did I do that thing or not? And if you just keep it simple, that's where we all fail, and that's where scope creep and scope seep goes. Is when we start to get excited and do all the things instead of what's the one thing that I know is going to get the client those sales. It's X number of calls. Let's do it.
That is this white wall is going to have it, I think, plastered behind it. By the time we're done. I was waiting for us to talk so I could decorate it with all the one-liners you're going to give me here. But you've been, this is, you can see how you work with your clients just based off how you are on the, here too. You're just dropping these bombs of how often do you look at your avatar doc before you send something out? Have you even looked at it once after you made it when you're writing a piece of content? And all that. I think it's such a, I know there, I don't want to say who, but I know people do this sometimes where they build it looks great and never look at it again. And it's such a unfortunate, and the simplicity that they keep it simple in the highest leverage activity, which is what you're saying that. What is that one thing? You can spin around all you want and do, jump around. If you don't know how to hit the I don't know hockey, I'm sorry.
That's it.
If you don't know how to hit it, it's not going in, whatever it's called.
That's it. Yeah.
The puck.
It's true. The puck, that's it. The puck, you can't get the puck in the net, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
There you go.
So that's it. Yep. Yeah.
Love that. That's so powerful, really. I mean, the simplicity of it. So I think I'm going to be running some, there's a lot to think about here and unpack, but I think what would you say is kind of because again, you've done a lot of these by now. Would you say there's a common theme of like, hey, these are high impact activities. If you were to simplify it down for us who are going to sit at home, like, but what are those fundamental things we should do?
Yeah.
Talk
Yeah.
about the
Well,
fundamental thing. What is that? What is that thing?
yeah. So if you're an agency and you're struggling with getting through the full campaign, if you're struggling with getting all the pieces moving and all the parts done, like very much so ditch the top of funnel and just focus on the bottom. And I mean, that's kind of my place of happiness is bottom of funnel. How do I close more deals? And so focus on the bottom first. So website, is it conversion rate optimized? Do you have bottom of funnel content on there that educates the client, that overcomes objections? Like, have you sold the call or whatever it is? Like, is that done? If not, fix that first, right? And then slowly work your way up. If you're not retargeting, right? Or if you have a list of leads that you haven't reached out to in forever, like you have a bunch of phone numbers that you just need to call them. So focus on the bottom of funnel first before you get super excited about TikTok ads and all the chaos at the top of funnel. It's fun, but if you're struggling with execution, focus on bottom first. That's it for 90 days. Focus on bottom of funnel, do those bottom of funnel activities. And then the next round, you can start moving your way up and adding things. But like, that's it. That's the one thing.
Yeah, that is the one thing. That's amazing. That just, hey, you want to help them make more sales? Guess what? Focus on helping them make more sales. But all the content, all the supportive stuff you're talking about, all these things that I think a lot of people here are useful to, help them have the comparison sheet or whatever, like give them the tools to sell it or to use it better. Is so overlooked because we're all like, we'll do cool ads and UGC and TikTok and it's going to be great. And then, no one buys. Then
yeah.
What?
There's somebody I really admire out there. Her name's Lachey Lewis, and she works with SaaS companies, and she's a content consultant, and her whole thing is bottom of funnel, FOFU, SaaS content that drives demos. And I've learned so much from her, and like, fantastic. And I think it's easy to overcomplicate it, but every piece of bottom of funnel content you create should be able to be used in a sales conversation. They should be able to pull it up and use it to close a sale. And if it doesn't do that, then it's probably not great bottom of funnel content. So whenever you're looking at your website or that bottom of funnel, like, can I legitimately bring this into a sales conversation to help me close a deal? If so, then it's great. Let's put it on the
website. That is fantastic advice right there. What was the name of that person?
Lachey Lewis. You can find her on LinkedIn. She's fantastic.
She's all about the bofu. All right.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. No, I will definitely look that up because that's I think I've always looked at it in that way too, which is funny. I think the layers though that you bring into it are much more in depth and wide into that, like really covering that base from all the angles, right?
Yeah.
Where in my world it was like, okay, I'm going to build him an offer that's so hard to say no to that at least, it's like ridiculously hard to say no to, and then we're going to start using that as soon as we can. At least then they have an opportunity to just close something off the bat.
That's it. And if the offer is great, you still got to get people onto the call to sell them. And so build the offer, make it undeniably perfect. And then what's the step before that? How do I, right? And you can look at the CVJ, right? Like what's the excite stage? What is the emotion, the logic that needs to be experienced for this person to say yes? And then how do I get them to a place where I can deliver that moment? Like start there.
I love that. So we work on it. So 90 days, bottom of the funnel, fix that up, get it going, cover your bases, then start bringing more and more people into your sphere from that, which is so logical, yet so for some reason, like this fear-based, no, I need to do another ad. I'm telling you, it's that ad. It's that TikTok person on YouTube told me.
Yeah. It's that magical thing that I saw on TikTok.
I know we're hitting TikTok pretty hard. I'm sure people are great on it. I'm just saying, there's some gurus out there.
That's it. That's not my place.
Well, I think everything you're saying is when I was about 10 years ago, I had the fortune of sitting with someone with this big lunch and, what's the secret to your success? It's big time realtor, built many businesses. I was like, well, you want to hear the secret? I was like, yeah. What is it? What is it? Like, well, I did the right thing enough times and I worked my ass off. It sounds a lot like what you're describing here, which is that
Yeah.
you find what the right thing and you do it enough times and it drives that predictable success.
Yeah. And I think, remember too, like that, I think the other thing that I've learned is like, it's not me. I am not the product. I'm not the service. I'm not the thing. I'm not the, like, I humbly step away and know that it's the other people, the who's. Who Not How, fantastic book. Again, Dan Sullivan, highly recommend it. So instead of looking at a problem as how can I solve this problem, it's who can solve this problem for me. And if you start looking at your business through that lens of like, I'm going to curate the right people to do the right things, time track them, set them up for success, give them what they need to do an incredible job, you're going to be way more successful, or at least way more likely to reach success because you're around the right people.
Another truth bomb right there. I genuinely wonder, like, why do you think people don't, they'll listen to these things you're saying here, and some they've heard in different variations, some is the first time they're hearing that focus, and it's just, and we all, when you hear it, it's true, right? Why do you think, from most of what you've been doing, what's stopping people from just like taking what you said and genuinely apply it? Because if they would apply any element of what you just said today, it would be like a big game changer for clients, for people, for them, period. So what do you think is that, from your lens, from what you do?
I wish I had like a nicer way to say this, or like a more optimistic way. I'm a very optimistic and positive person, but I'm also like a realist. And I think it's really hard. And not a lot of people are up for the hard. And it is. It's hard. You have to look at yourself in the mirror every day. You have to do the work. You have to be diligent. You have to fail a bunch. And not a lot of people are up for that. And most of the time, it's easier to just stay busy and keep going with hope than it is to try something really hard. And I think if you look at athletes, like it's usually the person who just can handle hard longer that does really well.
Man, that is it right there. It's that just, I've looked, there were years reading the books. What am I going to learn? What am I going to, what's that hack for my brain? The trick for the focus, what is it? And it's just deciding to do it, and not stopping. And it's not me saying that. Of course, people like you and people who have done all these other, major things, like the one thing in common is that persistence piece, that just you keep going, doing the hard thing, and continuing to do it. So that is an incredible thing. I completely, I believe you when you say that.
I'm really lucky, I think, too. Like, I think a lot of it is luck. A lot of it is you're just graced with people in your life. So, like, my husband, he is an incredible human. He's in the military, special forces. He's like one of those rare breed of people who just can do hard things. And he brings this kind of like no emotion, like you just do it type of reality to my life. And I'm very grateful to that, because I am a highly emotional, very excitable person. Like I get into things. I'm up in my head a lot and my heart a lot. And I overcomplicate stuff like it's my job. But he brings this, well, like, no, this is the thing, do the thing. Just say no, or just get up and do it. You just got to be tough. And I think having someone in your life like that sucks sometimes, but it's also a huge gift.
That's amazing. And it's so, I think we are in this place, that is, for some reason, that type of communication sometimes is not, like, people don't understand that that's what you need sometimes. I was in the military myself, which was a conversation we had a lot, about and all that. But even just a month ago, I found myself spiraling from different things and just kind of detaching and being fully in my head. And like, what do I, how do I even figure out a few things? I'm just so, so out of it. And one of my mentors, his name is Dr. Gary Sanchez. He owns a place called the Y Institute. Really incredible person. He's like, hey man, are you the Rock or are you not the Rock? I was like, what do you mean? First he texted it to me and I was like, I don't know what this guy wants. I'm like, I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Right. Then though, we met in person, right? And he's like, do you know anyone who's done what you've been through in your world and who does what you do and is able to do what you're, the ultras, the military, to this, to that? And I was like, no, not really. It's like, are you the rock then? Are you the rock for your family, or for you, or are you not the rock? Simple. Because if you're the rock, act like it. If you're not the rock, don't be the rock. And don't say you are. And I was like, okay, well, with that being said, a major shift of a perspective just changed. Then they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's right. Sounds silly. It's just that sometimes you just need that conversation of just do the thing. And it's hard.
Yep.
It's okay.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so true. Like so we've had a lot of disruption in our family. This past year has been rough. And I think I had to be reminded by multiple people, like, and I had someone tell me just recently, like, you remember you're a badass, right? Like, remember, like, you did this and you did that, and you like finaled at Olympic trials, and you started a business, and you did, and I had to like really sit there and be like, oh yeah, you're right. I got to pull up my big girl pants and like be the tough person again. Like I've done it before, I can do it again. But sometimes you need someone in your life who can tell you that and remind you that in those hard moments. And those people are keepers.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I hope everyone else has that. If not, Mickey just dropped a whole lot of it on us.
I can be your person.
Hey, there you go. You really dropped it. I'm gonna watch this recording afterwards too, to be reminded of some of those every now and then. So Cameron, I believe we're closer to the thing. Mickey, thank you so much for all this incredible wisdom. I really do have like 3 or 4 pages here of notes, nonstop writing. So I absolutely appreciate you, and I think you are an incredible person doing incredible things. Thank you for sharing it with us, and I'll pass it to Cameron here.
Yeah, thank you, Mickey, for today. Like Etan said, just dropping knowledge on us for sure. And then thank you, Etan, for stepping in and being the mark for today. You guys did great. Thank you so much again. And then everybody join us next week. We will be talking with Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy, going over some Amazon stuff, I'm pretty sure. So again, thank you everybody for joining us today. Thank you again, Mickey and Etan, and we hope to see everybody next week. Awesome. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.